Hey all, this is 012 Boku, and I'm coming at you with another review of... Yep, that's right, Fullmetal Alchemist, if you can see right there, Fullmetal Alchemist, and coming at you with the review of episode 19, The Truth Behind Truths. And this one, again, it's where right after Edward and Alphonse discover the truth in Marco's notes that they need actual human lives to create the Philosopher's Stone, a sacrifice that Edward is not ready for. In the Japanese, it's funny when Edward and Alphonse are discussing this, because Edward and Alphonse are depressed. You had Major Alex Louis Armstrong wanted to come see them. I was going to say the voice actor's Meredith McCoy, but no, Maria Ross actually comes and keeps Anderson or Armstrong from seeing them, and because she's saying they're sleeping, they're tired, they've had a long day, and he goes back, and then you have Maria Ross trying to help the boys, but she overhears the talk that Alphonse and Edward are there. Edward is basically saying, in Japanese they do two different versions. In Japanese he's way more a little calm about it. He's still depressed, but he sees sort of the irony of messing with God, and that God does not help sinners, or however he put it in the way in Japanese where it's like an irony where you get close and you're hit with another curveball. And unfortunately, that is how life can work, and that is how it can be done and go most ways. But there's that where in English Edward is more upset at God, thinking oh, how could God do this to me? How could he keep me from doing what must be done, doing what needs to be, and then pulling the rug out from under me as soon as I get there. So it's like two different ways. However, in both versions, Alphonse is trying to keep up Edward's dander, saying let's not give up, let's keep going, maybe we overlooked something, let's try again. And there's a moment where Edward, I think not meaning to, lashes out at Alphonse, and Alphonse is taken aback and actually shocked by this. Maria Ross actually comes in, offers her 2 cents, and saying how, maybe you guys haven't thought of everything. How could you come this far and just give up? And, and what's funny is, again, in the Japanese, Edward is a little more respectful to Denny, Bloch, and Maria Ross in this one, where he's basically saying, oh, it's none of your concern, what do you know? Don't talk about it, I want to talk about it. Where in English, Edward, again, Vic Mignogna is way more dismissive, angry, being rude to Denny, Bloch and Maria Ross, not even really caring about their thoughts at all. However, like I said, Maria Ross basically shows the Elrics, especially Edward, that maybe they didn't think of anything, maybe there's other avenues they could take, they don't have to give up. Just like, because Jarek and me, when we were watching this, he said sort of like the big mother-sister analogy, where she's looking out for them in the best way possible that she can. And they basically get Edward's, spirits up again. And, he looks at the note where Marco wrote, the truth, the genuine truth behind truths that he wrote down. And then, like Edward was learning, Marco was saying more in the notes than what was in the main branch library or what was available to them. And then, they start getting a map of Central, and they're looking through it, and they see all the alchemic laboratories. Denny Bloch says, Marco worked out of the 3rd laboratory, but, Edward said, well, there was nothing remarkable going on there, it was just bureaucratic nonsense. And then he said, here's the 5th laboratory, and they realize the prison's behind the 5th laboratory, and he believes that's the perfect spot to commit these atrocities, where they could create Philosopher's Stones using condemned prisoners. You have Alphonse, Elric, and, Denny Bloch shocked at this revelation, thinking they wouldn't use prisoners, and, why not condemn prisoners, say they were executed, but don't say how they were. and that they were used for inhumane purposes, but stuff like that. So, and they're all excited they've gotten a lead, but Maria Ross comes in and says, "Let me and Bloch find out what's going on. Let us protect you from this, because Scar's still out there. You guys can't go willy-nilly. We're assigned to protect you. We got to do our jobs." And so they say, she's saluting, Edward, and Edward's like taken aback by this because he can't believe how far Maria Ross is willing to go to do this. But, in their own ways of doing this, Edward and Alphonse, as Maria Ross and Denny Bloch were trying to make the call to Major Armstrong about what they discovered. They sneak out, they go to the 5th laboratory. It's tons and tons of security, tons of stuff going on there, and things are seeing, so basically for a condemned and abandoned building, which, if I forgot to say that earlier, the building had structural problems and was condemned. There was security, there's lights on in the building, there's things working in the building, and Edward's the only one who can fit through the vent because Alphonse is too big. There's a lot of short jokes and things like that. There's even a thing where Edward goes about the laboratory and there's a whole bunch of Indiana Jones memes, from the rolling boulder to floor traps and ceiling and wall spikes, and so it was great fun. And again, him being short is what saves his life. At the same time, though, there's two figures watching them, and one we know, if you guys know this from before, it's Barry the Chopper, number 66, and then number 48, and number 48 and number 66, Barry the Chopper, both attack Alphonse and Edward. 48 does Edward on the inside. 66, Barry goes out to the outside to attack Alphonse. And while Edward fights 48, he realizes Winry forgot a part of a bolt of Edward's thing, so his arm isn't as strong enough to fight this assassin guy. So there's all that and all the weirdness to it too, but at the same time, while fighting, Edward discovers that there's nobody in number 48's armor, and there's the blood seal like he used for Alphonse, so he's a soul bonded to the piece of armor. The same thing probably could be said for number 66, Barry the Chopper. Sadly, as this continues, and while this is also going on, you have Colonel Mayhews, working with Sheska, trying to get the court orders, and he's talking on the phone to somebody, and he hears things about how Scar's back, or there's added security for the Elrics and things like that, but nothing big from his end going on to it. But she has Sheska making all his court orders. Sheska's getting tired, and then he tries to put Sheska's spirits up with a picture of his daughter in a bathing suit wearing his wife's sunbathing hat, and it's really funny and over the top, and you can tell Mayhews, you really like it, right? And there's also a part where it goes to where Denny Bloch and Maria Ross are making the call, and sadly Scar actually goes back to where the Elrics are staying. He's not really killing the soldiers this time, I've noticed, but he's knocking them out and trying to disable the military getting towards them. I don't know why Scar's taking this approach of not killing people now. Maybe it was something that he's seen the Ishvalan people, or maybe he's thought of his ways. But as we were theorizing, me and Jarek, Scar knows what it takes to make a Philosopher's Stone, and he discovers Marco's notes because he finds the Elrics, and the Elrics obviously like I said snuck out. And he's looking through Marco's notes, reading them, and as his hand of destruction is absorbing them, controlling the wording, and he's like, "So you know it too now, Fullmetal." And then he jumps out of the window, and Maria Ross, Denny Bloch, and other soldiers are trying to shoot at him, but he escapes, and then Bloch and Ross know that the Elrics got away, so that or snuck out and went to the laboratory. So that's basically the episode in a nutshell for the breakdown. And again, I didn't do it correctly, so I hope I didn't miss any voices. I forgot to do it while the show was on screen. I looked up voice casts online, so I hope I got everybody. But, you know, again, I have to give great performances to Vic Mignogna, Romy Paku, Edward Elric, Vic Mignogna, Romy Paku, Alphonse Eric, Aaron Desmook, Ria Kugamiya. Let's see. Oh yeah, definitely Maria Ross, Meredith McCoy, Mitsuki Saiga. I have to give it to, for as short as his role as was in this one, number 48, Bill Jenkins, and Koichi Sakaguchi. Because they were great in this episode too. Oh, and you know, that reminds me really quick, forgot to mention a point. You have the homunculi, lust, gluttony, and envy. And envy can also transform into Edward, we see, basically talking of Edward and Alphonse, Elrics saying how they're getting really close, shouldn't we kill them? And Lust is like, no, we may need them to create what we want, otherwise we may not get what we need. And, you know, she's like, I'll alert our guards to know that they may be on their way to the laboratory. And Lust is like, well, as long as they don't mess up what they're doing for us, that's fine. But who knows, maybe in the end, we still have to, you know, kill them anyway. And, you know, that makes Gluttony happy, because Gluttony wants to eat both the Elrics, and there's that too. So, to the same point, there's that as well. And I forgot to mention that as a side note. But overall, this is such a great episode. It's really good, fun. It really deeps into the character, the relations, what they're going with, their struggle. And now there's another break, but how deep is this rabbit hole going to go in this recent break, and what secrets does the fifth laboratory hold? But, you know, these are my thoughts. What are your guys's? Let me know down in the comments below. Just let me know your opinions, and we'll get this discussion going, right? Okay, I'll talk to you later, guys. See ya.